Ah, music. Truly an art form. From sonnets to Swifties, few industries have had as extensive a history as the music industry. Before newfangled technology like those cool spinny things and our pocket mathematical devices, people had to actually make music to listen to it. At like balls and stuff, and church. Or you could go to a local folk concert, or learn how to play an instrument. Then in 1877, this random guy named Thomas decided that it might be a cool little project to make a device that could capture sound.
With aluminum foil.
A needle and a cylinder. He created the first phonograph, which he marketed as a novelty as the first recording sounded like a 12-year-old on a Fortnite open lobby. He set the project on the side and went on to work on some random other projects, like that silly light bulb thing. When the tinfoil was swapped to use wax, the potential of the device was finally truly discovered. Edison's passion was reignited, and he set out to perfect the phonograph. In 1888, he finally revealed the fruits of his labor, the perfect phonograph. He sold his new device, creatively named the perfected phonograph, alongside pre-recorded wax cylinders with music that one could listen to at home, thus creating a brand new industry. However, the perfected phonograph was seemingly not perfect enough, as the cylinder eventually became a very short and very wide cylinder made from shellac. The cylinder format fell apart, similar to how a shellac record would break if it was dropped. Shellac was swapped for vinyl thanks to its better time density and quality, and the 12-inch album was introduced, alongside a smaller 7-inch single format. These records, alongside radio, became the primary way for music to be listened to for the following few decades, until a new challenger approached, the cassette tape. Finally, a way to listen to your awesome tunes without having to lug around a sound burger. Even though cassettes had more hits than vinyl did, it became the primary form of music sale revenue for most musicians in the mid-80s. Then this little thing called the compact disc came along and absolutely dominated the music industry. It was small. It was light. It was shiny. It didn't get ruined if your cat stood in the wrong spot. It even sounded better than vinyl, usually. These friendly foil frisbees found extreme success, making up a vast majority of revenue in the late 90s and early thousands. Unfortunately, 2002 would see the start of the decline in music sales, losing over half the total revenue by 2010. MP3 files and downloaded music began to rise in popularity starting in 2005, becoming the majority of music sale revenue until streaming hit the masses. Now, finding new music is easier than ever, and you can even let an algorithm suggest tunes for your 153-hour lo-fi music to study and relax to playlist. Surely this can't be bad for the artists, right? Revenue. As it turns out, completely replacing a revenue system will actually have massive effects on revenue, primarily from the methods that the streaming services use to distribute the revenue. Let's have a quick hypothetical situation. Let's say Bob here really likes to listen to his favorite artist, Michael Johnson. Here, Michael's a smaller artist, and only receives a few thousand streams per month. Bob really likes to listen to Michael, so he decided to buy Spotify Premium to support his favorite artist. Bob only listens to Michael, so naturally, Michael should receive all of Bob's money, right? Unfortunately, that's not how it works. Bob's money actually goes into a massive pool from all the music listeners on Spotify, and then that is divided among the artists based on how much listening time they receive. That means that the revenue is unfairly divided to favor the popular artists, while underpaying people like Michael. The revenue that is received by the small artists is also literal pennies when compared to how much a single LP sale would have netted them in the 80s or 90s. In the past, independent musicians could press a small batch of records, about 1,000, for maybe $1 each and make $1 to $2 in profit for each sale. On Spotify, it would take about 300 streams to maybe make even $1. It gets worse though. Starting in 2024, Spotify will begin to stop paying revenue to songs with under 1,000 streams. That's about 2/3 of all songs on Spotify. It massively impacts these smaller artists while only making the money pool larger for the popular ones. The rich get richer, and the people in their mom's basement get literally nothing. It's not all bad though. The convenience of streaming has made music pirating and sharing as unappealing as ever. Why spend your time finding and downloading an album when you can just find it on Spotify? Speaking of finding things, discovery. You know the feeling. You're at the store, you see an album with a really funky picture on it. You walk over, pick it up, and decide, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna buy this. Who's the artist? Michael Johnson? Never heard of him before. You buy the album, take it home, and it absolutely rocks. Best music you've ever heard. It's a completely different genre than you normally listen to, but you really, really like it because of how unique and interesting it is. And you only found it because it had an extremely swag cover design. If you've only been using streaming services for your entire life, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. The algorithms used by these services to suggest new music for your autoplay tend to pick music that is similar in style to the ones that you already listened to, or music that is listened to by people who have similar tastes to you. You can already see where this is going. If someone likes to listen to pop, they'll only get recommended pop music in their radios and playlists. If someone likes to listen to hip-hop or rap, that's what they get. Who suffers from this? Mostly independent artists, of course. They really can't catch a break, can they? If an artist doesn't make music that would be popular, then it's less likely to be recommended to people, which means that they're less likely able to move out of their mom's basement. This means that many artists try to make songs specifically to appease the algorithm rather than what they would actually want to make.
No way. This is my jam.
This is also my jam.
It has also led to more music that starts out quickly rather than music that has long extended intro sequences. There are even more genre-related issues. Historically, pop and hip-hop have been the most popular genres on streaming services. Genres with longer playtime, such as jazz and classical, have seen a reduction in playtime due to platform-related issues, like advertisements interrupting a song, or a lower listen percentage from how long the songs are, reducing its ranking on the algorithm. Classical especially has problems like this, as movements often last for hours at a time, but only the individual compositions are shown on streaming services, which can be only a few minutes long. Playlists. There's a secondary market that's being created as a result of this: curated playlists. Lots of listeners listen to these playlists that are suggested to them on their streaming service's front page, which are curated by employees or people with large influences on the platform. Struggling independent creators will often put their efforts into getting into these playlists, as they are a much more reliable method of getting seen by the world than simply relying on an algorithm. This does often work, and there are creators who have seen a good amount of success once they make it onto a curated playlist, as it'll boost their exposure massively in a genre as well as add some sort of prestige to the artist's work. Unfortunately, it also means that there's a large amount of competition to get into these playlists, which has some drawbacks. It leads to the same problems I mentioned before, specifically the problem about creativity. Lots of these playlists stick to one specific genre or theme, meaning that once an artist makes it onto a playlist, they might be stuck creating that type of music forever, to not alienate their new audience. There are definitely some playlists that do focus on smaller artists, and these playlists do help with song discovery, filling in where the algorithms cannot. But what's the point of a playlist? Why did I not mention anything about albums for the last 5 minutes? Where'd all our shiny plastic go? Shiny plastic. It's well known that CDs aren't seen around anymore. Most people forget they exist until they get a smartphone stand to put into the CD player in their car. And mostly falls down to one thing: convenience. CDs are just not remotely as convenient as streaming and MP3s are. They also take up a lot of space and you need a stereo system to listen to them. That's not good, especially when your main competitor can be played on a Hot Wheels nugget after being downloaded illegally for free online. The first MP3s might not have sounded that great, sure, but as the devices used to listen to them improved, the convenience in MP3s and later on streaming has caused the CD market to be a shadow of its former self. It is no longer necessary to go to a store and buy music, as you can access millions of songs on streaming services at any time you like. Interestingly enough, even with all these drawbacks, CDs saw a boost in sales for the first time in 20 years in 2021. However, CDs don't even win for the most inconvenient and expensive music format that's making a comeback. Vinyl record sales surpassed CD sale revenue for the first time in several decades. But why? Less shiny plastic. Records are known for being just alright. They technically sound worse than CDs due to their smaller dynamic range, and they can also be damaged extremely easily, while still being more expensive than CDs and streaming. So why is there a comeback? A massive reason is because of the record sleeve and inserts. With vinyl, you simply get an experience with the music that you don't get with streaming services. You get to look at the album art in its whole 12-inch glory, as well as reading the insert or putting up the included poster. It's simply much more interactive and hands-on than streaming is, and it seems that audiences want to be much more connected to their favorite artists. Taylor Swift has historically been a huge proponent of CD and vinyl album sales because of streaming services not compensating artists fairly, so it should be no surprise that her album sales have been doing extremely well, selling almost 1 million copies of her 2022 release Midnights. Interestingly, a large portion of vinyl collectors are Gen Z, and many of them don't even have a record player. It seems that nowadays, vinyl is taking a different role than it once did. It's now a way to better support the artists and streaming services, and a way to collect your favorite music. Conclusion. Well, that was fun. What's next? Could it be that we start listening to AI-generated music to really destroy any creativity left in the industry? Or maybe we end up in a world where Michael Johnson gets paid fairly? Will Taylor Swift use up the world's supply of petroleum, or will cassette tapes see a comeback? It's clear that streaming is here to stay, so how will it evolve in the future? Suppose we'll have to wait and see. Thanks for watching. Bye.